Apple debuting generative AI plans at its Worldwide Developers Conference. It's called Apple Intelligence, and it's now going to integrate all hardware and software products into it. Plus, users can ask Siri to use Chat GPT. That feature apparently irking Elon Musk, who called the software integration between the two companies a, quote, unacceptable security violation and threatened to ban Apple devices from his companies if the company integrates OpenAI at what he described as the operating level. I would say from my reading of it, it's not really integrated at the operating level, but we're going to discuss this right now. Joining us, one of the journalists who attended Apple's event, Joanna Stern, the Wall Street Journal senior personal technology columnist and a CNBC contributor. I want to get into your review, which was fascinating to read this morning in the Journal. It's worth a read for those who haven't seen it yet. But help us answer the question. Maybe I don't understand it. It did not appear to me that Chat GPT is genuinely integrated at the operating level, more that this was something that you would sort of use almost like an API and sort of push out to in certain instances when you need it, but that it wasn't necessarily living inside the iOS itself.
Absolutely correct. What Apple talked about yesterday was doing a lot of this AI processing either in Apple's on the device or using Apple's cloud services, what they've called private cloud compute. And this is a way they've invented basically that it's secure on the cloud and it's in their servers and in their world. That said, if there is something that requires a larger language model and Apple feels like we can't answer that, they're going to go out and ask you if you can ask Chat GPT. But you get a pop-up. They showed this a number of times during the presentation. You get a pop-up, a notification that says, can we go ask Chat GPT this question? And you confirm that.
So what was your general, and so, by the way, before, just to finish this off, if you were Elon Musk, and I don't remember if he had tweeted this prior to the presentation or right after, but if you were to actually dig into this and look at it, do you think that he would say this is integrated or not?
I think Elon Musk had a very rash reaction to hearing the news, hearing ChatGPT is integrated in iOS. And sure, you can think that, but that's just not the case, at least according to what Apple is saying and what they're showing.
It also seemed to me that longer term, and there were some references to it yesterday, it's very possible that in the future, instead of just going out to go use a large language model like ChatGPT, you may very well do it with Gemini. You may very well be able to click off and go to Grok if you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People need to think about this as you can choose what search engine you use on your iPhone in Safari. Well, I think you're going to be able to choose which large language model you use through Siri. And that was really the point they were making yesterday, is that Siri is going to be this portal to getting information and your AI assistant. They never use the word or term AI, but your Apple assistant or your Apple intelligence. And so eventually, they say, there may be other large language models that integrate through there. Google, Claude, whichever ones that are out there now, Apple will have to make that deal. But they've made this first deal with OpenAI. And so now Siri can go and do that.
Can I ask both of you, actually, because I've been trying to figure out the Elon Musk reaction to this. You guys both follow this really closely. Just his reaction to this, he's not threatening to ban Microsoft devices from his offices. And I think it's more about just banning them from the devices, but making sure people realize he feels so strongly about this. Is it a competitive thing? Because now OpenAI is going to be able to train potentially off of all the data it would be getting from Apple
Well, I will try. I mean, you have Joanna as the expert. I will say this, two things. Yeah. Apple said repeatedly that OpenAI would not be able to actually train effectively off of this data because they're not going to actually get the data, which I didn't understand, Joanna. We got to figure out. I want to actually get into that. The second piece is Microsoft obviously has laptops, doesn't have phones, so that's not necessarily, I think, what we're talking about. Android might be something different, and I don't know where he stands on that. I think he feels differently about Google
than he does
and
he's always mad at OpenAI.
He has a personal view about OpenAI. But that's my take. Joanna, what's yours?
Similar take. Look, eventually, Elon Musk might strike a deal here, and Grok might be integrated as one of the large language models. I think maybe once he understands that better, maybe he'll see this as an opportunity. Around Microsoft, I mean, look, Microsoft not until now with its Copilot PCs has been that deeply integrated with OpenAI on the operating system level, or had the ability to integrate that way. But also, yes, I mean, you're talking about the iPhone versus, maybe an HP laptop or whatnot.
Joanna, was your sense that the AI assistant effectively that's going to be on device, and this is now Apple's AI, which I imagine are going to be smaller language models that are sitting on these chips effectively, that they're good, or that they're good enough, or that they're as good as what could be done if OpenAI was allowed to go wild on the device, if you will, or compared to Gemini, which might live on an Android device?
Well, I think this is the really interesting thing we're seeing on devices. So Samsung's taken a similar route that for doing specific things that you don't need these large language models, right? If you want to transcribe audio and then summarize it, you don't really need that large language model. If you want to make images or you want to make what they're calling Genmoji, right, which are generative AI emojis, you don't need to go to this super large language model. You can use a lot of models that are either local or that are going to Apple's own cloud. And so that's actually one of the interesting things that they're saying here is that sometimes you're just really not going to know where that processing is happening. Obviously, the normal user is not going to know if this is happening on device or it's going to the cloud. And Apple's saying that in their presumption, it doesn't really make that much of a difference if, again, they're not telling you it's not going to Chat GPT, right? If it is, they're going to tell you. But otherwise, it's in Apple's world, and they're making a huge bet on privacy and security.
You haven't gotten a chance to test it yet, but, what I call multi-step, effectively, projects that you would give the phone like an assistant. The question is how good that really is, and whether that's as good as what you might get with one of these larger language models doing the work for you. Now, they seem to show lots of integration where you could effectively say, add this to my calendar, email so-and-so, and do 5 things all at one time. I think it's to be seen whether it can really do all of those 5 things at one time.
We absolutely don't know yet. And a lot of these Siri promises where we're seeing Siri use your personal data to go across apps, it's just not going to be ready yet. And they're not even saying that it's going to be ready this year. They're saying some of this could come next year. So this is a long-term play by Apple. They showed a lot yesterday, but absolutely they need to show us how it actually works to really believe it all.
And then can you just go underneath the economics of this for half a second? Because, historically, Google has actually paid Apple to have access to that search box. That was always a very valuable piece of real estate that effectively Apple was selling to Google. This has become part of even the antitrust suit against the company. In the context of OpenAI, I was trying to think through the economics of that. Do we believe that Apple is paying OpenAI? Do we believe that OpenAI is paying Apple? OpenAI is not benefiting, if you believe them, from being able to train on the data, so that's not of value to them. It could be a lead gen kind of product in that there is going to be some kind of integration with a paid version of Chat GPT. How are you thinking about the math here?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a lead gen thing because what Apple has said is that they're offering this for free to their users, right? Chat GPT 4.0 is going to be free. You don't need to sign into the service. If you do have Chat GPT Plus and you happen to pay OpenAI for that, well, then you can come and sign in. And they said that's going to all be a possibility. So to me, that strikes me as Apple is trading money with or giving money to OpenAI for some of this access here. And Apple's also said they've built in some real privacy to how it works with OpenAI for the free version, that it is not collecting that data. It is not training on that data. So my guess is that if OpenAI isn't getting data, they're getting money.
All right, guys, this is the part of the video where I'm going to break down the stock that was mentioned in the CNBC clip. Today was all about Apple, and look at this daily candle, 7.25% up. Just a massive, massive day. It's like 5 or 6 of these days right here in one day. You can see nowhere in the last year did we make anything remotely close to this. This is off of the WWDC news from yesterday. We have a massive blow off top from this double bottom. We are breaking out. Every single bar on this chart is 1 week, so I made the time frame just a little bit bigger so you can see the picture more clear. Here's the 45-day moving average, and here's the 200-day moving average. So you can see for the last 2.5 years or so, we haven't really been anywhere, especially back at the dips about a month or so ago. When we were down here, we hadn't moved since 2022. And now we're blasting off, guys. We were back at this resistance yesterday. We were looking like it was make or break. Are we going to head back down and have another 16% rejection like these two? Or are we going to break out of the top and keep going higher? Well, it obviously chose to break through 200, guys. So we're looking majorly bullish. Apple's partnering with OpenAI to make Apple Intelligence and Siri even better. Guys, this stock is starting to look very, very good now. You can argue that we've had a cooling off period for the last 2 to 3 years. And Apple has not been Apple since then. We used to have moves that were kind of straight up or cooling off. That was it. Apple's in every single portfolio and used to just be the best stock of the market and the biggest market cap. But Nvidia and Microsoft has caught up, and so now they're all in a close race for around $3 trillion and higher. But Apple's been looking very strong. We could potentially be making another leg this size from the low, which would bring us around $230 a share before this move kind of starts consolidating. So we still could have a ways to go. This also could just be a blow off, and we're going to kind of consolidate around 200, make that a support and resistance zone, and then keep going higher, guys. But obviously this chart is extremely bullish. I hope you guys enjoyed the video as always. If you did, please smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.